Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source, bringing the weather without all that social media hype, here on your Monday, April 14th, 2025. Let's see what we're tracking here for today, as we do have some severe weather expected not only for today, but also going for days 4 and 5 from the Storm Prediction Center. I'll break that down and show that for you here in a second. Talking about some winter weather, kind of holding on across the Northeast, unusually cold weather. Yes, a little snow in there. But the good news is, I hope this is one of the last ones we see for you guys up there. And then we're also going to talk about summer-like temperatures building across areas of the Southeast for as we head into this upcoming weekend. Now, before we get going, first I want to thank any new subscribers out there. And if you haven't joined us just yet, please help our little channel out. Hit that subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner. Hit the notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you like what you see here, please leave me a comment. Give me a thumbs up. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. All right, looking at the big picture here, no big major storm systems out there, except for maybe this one. Pretty good low pressure up around the Great Lakes. This is going to swing across the Midwest and into the Northeast. It's going to bring the colder weather as well as a pocket of severe weather as we go into Ohio, into Virginia, and parts of West Virginia here as we go in toward tonight. A little unsettled there across areas of the Southwest with a little upper low kicking out here as well. West Coast not looking too bad from Seattle all the way down to Los Angeles. Pretty quiet here on the West Coast for your Monday. Now, as far as our current watches and warnings, nothing to be too concerned out there. Still dealing with the residual effects from the flooding rains from a couple weeks ago. A little winter weather up across the UP of Michigan. Breezy across South Dakota and North Dakota there, even parts of Minnesota and Iowa. And also looking at Pennsylvania, getting a little breezy there with a couple of wind advisories. All right, looking at the big picture here. Again, pretty quiet up across the eastern seaboard. Not bad across the southeast. A little active weather, got some pretty heavy rains. I'm going to show you there coming into southern Canada. But this is big complex low here that's going to be bringing the storm system up across the Northeast. Pretty quiet out in the western portion of the United States for right now on your Monday. Now let's go look at this big swirl. You see the low pressure system. Look at this heavy rain here going into southern Canada coming off Superior. So otherwise not looking bad. But as this low comes by, again, you saw the winter weather advisories as this thing sweeps by with the colder weather coming in across portion of the UP of Michigan. They're going to get some snow. And then obviously the other part of the storm system is going to be heading on down into areas of the mid-Atlantic. That's what's going to be setting up that pocket of severe weather here for today. So let's go ahead and break this down. We'll look at the latest from the Storm Prediction Center as we're looking at that slight risk coming in for today. So again, we're talking about areas there from say over into the nation's capital, coming back over towards Cincinnati, Lexington, that pocket right there. That's what we're seeing for severe weather as we go in toward tonight and into tomorrow morning. There is a tornado threat with this, running about 5%. There you see that pocket of brown right in there. So that area's got to watch for potential tornadoes. We're talking about Charleston, West Virginia, for example, Ashford, Kentucky, Clarksburg, West Virginia. So those areas got to be careful for a possible isolated tornado there. And then obviously a nice little pocket of wind and hail. Both those are the same, running about 15%, covering the same area that we had the slight risk for wind as well as hail. So no big changes on both of those. Now, as far as your day 2 is concerned, tomorrow, just a couple of pockets for some general thunderstorms here across the Northeast, here across the Four Corners, and out here towards California. Maybe a rumble of thunder coming in as we go in toward tomorrow. And our day 3, also showing a little kind of an expanse of some isolated thunderstorms here coming up to the west and coming into the plains. So that's what we're expecting as we go toward your Wednesday. Now, as we look at your day 4, that's when things start to get a little interesting. So we look at day 4, we got a little pocket there of severe weather, predominantly right across Iowa, looks like, and in northern Missouri. And then it gets a little more expansive as we go into your day 5. It's going toward the end of the week. So as we watch this little energy kind of kick out of the southwest, so it looks like anywhere here from the Great Lakes stretching all the way back down toward Texas, may see some pockets of severe weather here later in the week. Now, as far as the heavy rain threat is concerned, not really that bad. We got a little pocket today here across West Virginia, obviously with some of those thunderstorms that are coming on through. And then the rest of the week, not looking too bad here. In fact, it looks like we're quiet here for tomorrow on the day 2. We're not seeing anything on day 2. But day 3, we got a little pocket out here toward the west coast. So we'll be watching out toward the west going into California as we go toward Wednesday here in California, Nevada with some heavier rains out there. So let's go ahead and break this down. Let's look at the forecast models. First thing we're going to do is going to look at the jet stream. That's that river air that kind of drives the weather across the country. And you're going to notice this pronounced dip here as this comes on in. This is the system that's sweeping into the Northeast. So this is the system that's set up that severe weather. Got some pretty good jet energy in there. So you got this trough and through here. So it's going to bring that cold shot across the eastern third of the United States. As this thing moves on off, we'll see things begin to improve. Then we're going to turn our attention to this energy out here toward the southwest. As this thing ejects out, that's what's going to bring in that severe weather toward later in the week. So as it goes through your Friday, start seeing some of that energy start to cling up this way. And that'll bring in severe weather there going into your day 4 and day 5. It kind of swings on out, and you see this kind of swings on out. Then we'll see another little piece of energy coming in as we go toward later in the forecast period, toward the end of the week. But it looks like it's going to be a series of weaker disturbances. So what I'm seeing here toward the end of the week is a wetter pattern across the nation with these little impulses coming off the Pacific and little pockets of severe weather. Nothing really big, not seeing any major severe weather outbreaks. Looks like a lot of these are going to be on the slight risk. So you just have to track them from day to day as we go through the end of the month. So let's go ahead and focus on the short term. We're going to look at the high resolution model here first. Again, watch that timestamp there in the upper right hand corner. As we watch this big low that's going to be diving in across areas of the Great Lakes. So the area you see as we go in toward overhead tonight, you can see why we have those winter weather advisories out there, as we've got a nice little pocket of severe weather, some heavy snows running up into that zone right through here. So we're going to watch there for some heavy snows heading in toward tonight. Now this sweeps on down to the south, and then we got to watch what goes on with the severe weather here. You can see the pockets, they're kind of erupting right through there as we go about 6 o'clock. So this is where our initial severe weather is going to start, right through here, coming into West Virginia and then going into Virginia. So about 6 o'clock is when things will start to get rolling in there across West Virginia, 8 o'clock. And then as we go into Virginia, some pretty hefty thunderstorms about 10. And then this kind of sweeps on through. And then we'll watch the cold air kind of sweep into the northeast. And yeah, look at that. Once again, dealing with some more snows across areas of New York State, Pennsylvania. Again, not going to amount to a whole lot. This is going into your Tuesday night and Wednesday morning with some of that snow moving on through there. But once this clears on through, hopefully this will be one of the last. Now I want to back this up once again. I want to focus in on the severe weather here. I want to go in a little bit closer. So let's go to the East Coast here. We're going a little bit closer and track that severe weather. So it's 6 o'clock. Notice by 8 o'clock, you got some pretty good hefty thunderstorms in here. Again, we'll have to watch for that 5% risk for tornadoes through this zone as this comes on through here to 8 o'clock tonight. And it moves into Virginia as we go in toward 11 o'clock. So the window for that severe weather looks like between 6 and midnight tonight. And then we'll see things begin to settle on down as this moves on off. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at the European models. We're going to go ahead and take this beyond the 7-day. But again, you notice here, boy, you got some snowy weather. 540 lines running out of the south. This looks very winter-like there across the northeast. But hold on, my friends. We're going to warm things up eventually. It's coming. So we got this next storm system here toward the end of the week. That brings that little pocket of severe weather there into Iowa. Remember, we were showing you that on day 4. And then as we go into day 5, at a Friday, you see a little bit of stuff starts to fill up. So what's happening here is we get these little impulses that are just going to keep coming on out of here after we get past the day 7. So we're not going to see a whole lot of precipitation next 7 days, but beyond like 7 to 14 on long range, it's like one impulse after another. It's kind of kicking on out of here. So there's one comes on through, and then here's another one coming on here on the 23rd. So you had one. Here's another one. Here's another one going on the 26th. And each one of these pockets had the potential for severe weather just because of how warm it is. So they'll set off some severe weather, but right now nothing that looks too big a deal. A slight risk is on a lot of these the way it looks right now. But the one thing's for sure, this is evolving into a much wetter weather pattern here across the eastern half of the United States as we go toward the end of the month. So let's talk about the rainfall totals here. Let me switch this over to the European. There we go. We're going to look at the next 7 days first. And you're going to notice how things here on the first 7 days, I'm going to take this out to about 180. So we'll take out to the 7 days here. And you see that one little pocket. So this is coming in for this weekend system. You're seeing the pockets, some heavy rain there across the middle of the country, but not really too bad out here. A little wet across the northeast. Southeast looks pretty dry here for the 6-7 days. All right, southeast stays dry. But on the back half of this, it really starts picking up. Look at all that rain in here across the middle of the country. Series. And again, we're looking at some very heavy rainfall amounts there that could come out if this pattern holds true, if this is how it begins to evolve. Let me go into the central portion of the United States here, and you're going to see what I'm talking about here as far as the rainfall totals here. For example, it's kicking out 8-9 inches of heavy rain here across Oklahoma, getting to Missouri and in parts of Texas on the back half of the model run. So we're talking about basically this upcoming weekend. It starts the initial rain, and then we get a series of these little rains going all the way out till the end of the month. So you folks here in the middle of the country, get ready for some very wet weather here to return as we go in toward the end of the month. Now, as far as the snow is concerned, it's just predominantly here across the Northeast. You get a little bit of light snow there, but we're going to watch the Intermountain region. They're really going to pick up with the snowfall here with that more active weather pattern. So, not unusual to see this, but look at what happens out here toward the Intermountain region. We're talking out toward areas of Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, seeing areas there probably getting between 6 to 12 inches of snow in the higher elevations here as we get deeper into the month of April. We're almost done with the snow season, but that's where the predominant snows are going to fall here over the next 10 to 14 days. Now, as far as the temperature anomalies are concerned, again, we got a nice cold shot coming down this week, going into the middle of the week. So notice as we head toward Tuesday and Wednesday, we kind of cut the country in half. Colder here, warmer here in the west. And then as we go forward here in time, it looks like we're going to finally move this cool air out. You see it kind of warms up here across the southeast. Going into the southeast this weekend, into Saturday, many areas here will be running about 10 degrees above normal. So we'll see a lot of like middle to upper 80s, even some 90s showing up here. Notice it's colder here across the Intermountain region going into this upcoming weekend. And as we go forward, we kind of see the warmer weather kind of holding on here across the east. So it looks like this last cold shot coming in might be the last. It does turn noticeably cooler out here in the west and warmer here in the east as we get toward the 22nd and 23rd of April. And that looks like that kind of holds true, okay? The only thing that looks like it as we head toward the end of this is just be the rainier weather here. So you get these little pockets of cool down because of clouds and rain, and it does begin to warm up out here in the west as we go toward the end of this model run. But on the short term, it does look like it stays a little bit cooler here out in the west and milder here in the east as we go toward the end of the month. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. We'll see what the Climate Prediction Center is showing here with what we're seeing on the long-range outlook. So days 6 through 10, from the 19th to 23rd, milder here in the east. A couple of cold pockets out here in the west. And as we go later in the month, still kind of holding on to cool weather here in the west and much warmer here in the east. Now, with the warmer weather, we're going to have a series of impulses. So I expect above normal precipitation to kick in here. And yeah, you're seeing it. Drier here out on the west coast, but the 19th to the 23rd, definitely looking wetter, especially across portions of Texas. And we'll have to watch that for the severe weather, the slight risk series of storms that may come through there. And it stays above normal here from the 21st to the 27th. So that's kind of lining up what we were showing you with the precipitation outlook, especially here across the middle of the country. So it looks like the good news is I'm not seeing any major storm systems that are going to bring us a major outbreak of severe weather. We're not looking at a big storm system that's going to be setting off, massive tornadoes or anything like that. The bad news is there's a series of smaller events that are going to be thrown there, so that slight risk may be over several days. And because of that, we're going to have to watch that flooding risk in the middle of the country as we go deeper into the month, at least based off the latest model guidance here on your Monday. Now, if you'd like to go ahead and make these updates a regular part of your YouTube feed, the best thing I can ask you to do is please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted when that comes on up. And again, I do appreciate y'all's feedback. If you have any weather-related questions, perhaps you're traveling somewhere, if you got something going on, just post me a question down below. I'm more than happy to answer your question and give you some personalized service. All right, that's y'all's update here for your Monday. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next update. Till then, you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.